Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn. So, my name is Nafis, and I'm thrilled to be hosting today's session on managing discipline and misconduct in workplace for 2023. So, our speaker today is Miss Carol Anthony, who is an expert in the field of human resources and has extensive experience on this topic. So, and we are really excited to have her with us today. So get ready to take notes, ask questions, and engage in a lively discussion with our speaker. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Carol Anthony. Miss Carol, I think your mic is
Oh,
muted.
good
Okay,
afternoon.
okay lah.
Okay, so now you can hear me. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Managing discipline and misconduct is one of the most challenging and difficult tasks for an organization, for management, and also for human resource personnel. All right, so today I'm going to share with you some important aspects or nuggets of information in 1 hour webinar so that you can manage discipline and misconduct successfully in your organization. All right, let's get started. Just a minute. Let me just put on the screen. So I'm Carol Anthony. I've been in human resource field for more than 20 years in various different organizations in Malaysia, small, medium enterprise, and also MNC. So one of my tasks was as a head of industrial relations department as well, where I have handled many disciplinary cases. All right. So that is why today I'm able to share with you some of my insights and some of my success stories. All right, let's get started. So today we'll cover these topics very quickly. So it's not extensive. Some of it I will just touch the surface. Of course, if you want to know more details, more information, you need to go for 1 or 2 days training program. So today is 1 hour. I will try as much as possible to share as much as information that you can use immediately. All right. So first, we'll start off with the definition. What is discipline and misconduct? Types of misconduct, consequences, preventive and corrective measures, corrective action, consequences again, poor performance, preventive action, summary, and what next. All right. So what is discipline? So we are talking about discipline and misconduct today. Discipline is a set of actions imposed by an organization on its employees for failure to follow the set rules, regulations, and policies that they may have. So they will have policies, or with some organizations call employee handbook. So if you don't follow the rules and regulations in it, then there's a case of discipline issues, right? So misconduct, what is misconduct? Misconduct is an act or omission which violates or affects the employee's express or implied obligation to the company. So how is an employee obligated to the company? By way of signing the offer letter or appointment letter. So you have agreed to follow certain rules and regulations. And also by accepting the employee handbook or company policies and procedures, the employee has confirmed and indicated that they will follow the rules and regulations. So failure to do that, then it will be construed as a misconduct. So here you can refer to section 14.1 of the Employment Act 1955. It's clearly stated here that it implies that conduct by an employee that is inconsistent with the fulfillment of the express or implied condition of his service, then it will be a misconduct. All right. So I hope you all are clear of what is discipline and misconduct before we move on. Right. So what leads to disciplinary issues? So sometimes disciplinary issues, they violate certain rules and regulations, but why do they do that? Okay, first of all, it could be, I've broken down into 5 aspects here, but the list is not exhaustive. You can add more, 10, 20, but I've just selected 5 for today. All right. First, failure at selection in interview process. So when you do an interview, sometimes it's the manager, supervisor, or HR is involved in an interview. They have selected probably someone who is not fit for the role or the job scope. So they are not able to align with the organization's rules and regulations. So first part is failure in the selection and interview process. Second, number 2, poor or no orientation process. So as soon as an employee comes into an organization, there need to be an orientation process. Familiarization with the rules and regulations and company policies so that the employee knows what is expected of them. So some organizations, they don't do this, or they do it poorly. It's not adequate. All right. Number 3, poorly defined rules, regulations, and policies. Sometimes all these are there, but sometimes it's jargon or terms used, the employee do not understand what is expected of them. Or sometimes it's insufficient. The rules and regulations are there, but it's not explained clearly. Number 4, inefficient supervisors, managers. So supervisors, managers need to ensure that their subordinates or employees need to be supervised or managed properly in terms of they following the rules, regulations, policies. Sometimes they are inefficient. They don't reprimand them, they condone their behavior. We'll come to all that later, right? More details. So that is what I call inefficient supervisors or managers. And last but not least, inadequate or absent disciplinary actions. So that's now I touch on condonation. Condonation is when there's something wrong done by an employee, a misconduct, a violation of rules and regulations. Sometimes there's no disciplinary action taken. Okay, sometimes disciplinary action is inadequate. Then this is construed as condonation, meaning you allow the misconduct to carry on. Then the misconduct may be repeated by the same person, or the misconduct may be done by another person, seeing that, oh, the company didn't take any action with that employee A, so now I will do the same. All right. So these are 5 major things that I've identified that leads to disciplinary issues in organizations. Right. Let's move on. So what are the types of misconduct? So usually what I do is I categorize under minor and major misconduct. Okay. So sometimes you can't lump everything together. Some misconduct which is minor. Why I lump it as minor? Because the action disciplinary process that you can take would be less severe than a major misconduct. Okay. Similar to any criminal offences. If you go to the court, the police apprehends you, you go to the court, and then sometimes the sentence are lighter, sometimes it's heavy sentence. So similar to that. Okay. So you need to differentiate and clearly identify this in the rules and regulations or company policies so that everyone is aware. Employees aware, supervisor is aware, managers are aware. All right. So I've listed down a few of the misconduct here. Again, this list is not exhaustive. Okay, there's more to be added. Usually when I prepare an employee handbook or company policies, for minor misconduct, there would be at least 20 or 25. Major misconduct, maybe 30 or 35. All right. So here I've extracted only some of it. So for example, let's look at the minor misconduct. Tardiness, coming to work late, let's say less than 3 times a month. Then you consider it as minor misconduct. So this is just an example. So it can vary from organization to organization, from job role to job role. Okay. For example, tardiness for a security officer or a security guard who comes in late to work every time, and then the premise where he's supposed to guard, there's no one to guard it, and then robbery could happen. Okay. So in this case, tardiness for a security guard or security officer could be a major misconduct, because the consequences of him coming to work late is severe. All right, robbery could happen. So compared to tardiness for maybe a administration clerk who comes to work late, 20 minutes late. So the job still can be done later. Okay, there's no urgency for being at work maybe at night. Okay, so those job role can be construed as minor. Okay, so this is very subjective according to the organization, the importance of the role as well, right? So same goes for leaving office early, not completing a task. This one I just put a figure of 3 as an example. So in your organization, you can change it to 2 or 5 or 10, it's up to you, all right? So as a rule of thumb, I use 3, okay? Let's see the next one. Shouting at a colleague in the office, taking office stationery home, such as pencil or pen. You know, sometimes they mistakenly take, sometimes they want extra pen at home. They just nick one from the office. Okay. Not adhering to company dress code or uniform. All right. 7, absence for less than 2 days. Taking long lunch break given 1 hour, but they come back after 1.5 hours. Example, malingering and loitering at the workplace. So this can be construed as minor. You can add on as many as you want. And then let's look at the major one. Major one can be fighting with another colleague, use of violence at the workplace, stealing company property. So here stealing, I put that taking of his stationery home instead of using the word stealing, but it's also stealing. Sometimes employee may do it without realizing, okay, that they have taken it home. So here I put stealing could be valuable company property, such as maybe they stole a computer, a laptop, a phone, a camera, etc. Right? Number 3, absence from work without leave. Okay, not applying for leave and didn't show up for work. Insubordination, whenever a superior gives some instructions, they refuse to follow. They didn't do the task as required. 5, sexual harassment. 6, malingering again. 7, damaging company property. This one could be accidental or because of carelessness. Using company property vehicle without permission. Drinking alcohol, getting intoxicated at work. Giving false information to anyone or clients. Okay, sometimes they exaggerate and give false information, tarnishing the image of the company. Forging signatures, right? Divulging confidential information to a third party. They are supposed to keep some information private and confidential, but then they go and reveal the information to a party who is not concerned with the information. All right. Tardiness again, here I put more than three times a month. Then leaving office early, also more than 3 times a month. So again, this is just a sample. It's up to you if you want to change it to 5, 10, or maybe 1 time tardiness. Like just now I gave you example. If you're a security officer, 1 time tardiness will be a major misconduct. All right. So let's move on. So what are the consequences of indiscipline? So we saw all the types of misconduct. When they do all that, there are consequences. Okay, what are the consequences? Inefficiency in their work, right? They can't be efficient. 2, absenteeism, of course, is one of the misconduct. They are absent from work. Lack of productivity. Okay, when they are not disciplined, they are not following certain rules and regulations, productivity will surely be affected. 4, unhealthy, unsafe work environment. Like there's now violence, fighting, or damaging company property. All these could be unhealthy and unsafe. Increased costs. Again, tie up to 4, damaging company property. Of course, the cost increase for the organization for repair or replacement of company property. Or in case of stolen items, then they have to purchase another item as replacement as well. And then poor behavior. The behavior overall will be very poor, the attitude. Okay, again, this one I've just highlighted, put 6 here. There's more that you can add on, consequences. This is important to show the supervisors or managers what are the consequences of not taking action against their employee or not managing them well in terms of discipline, right? Next, let's move on. So what can we do? There are 2 measures that you can do when it comes to discipline and misconduct. Okay, so this is what I advocate usually. You do one preventive measure, another one is corrective. So the E went down to emphasize. Okay, preventive and corrective. Okay, what are these? Let's look at the first one. Okay, so this is just an overall diagram to show you how the entire process of preventive and corrective measures can be done. Okay, first you identify the issue or act of misconduct. Either it's implied or expressed. Implied means they did it. Expressed means they are saying it. All right. And then you take disciplinary action is actually corrective action. Corrective is after it has happened, then you're going to correct the situation or correct the person. So it's called corrective action. All right. Then you take, you record it, of course. Right. Next, after taking corrective action, you do preventive action. One of the preventive action could be update your policy. So remember earlier I mentioned your policy may be inadequate, or maybe some of the employees do not understand what is stated in the policy is not clear. Okay, so now it's time to update the policy so that you prevent the same action or misconduct from happening again. All right. And then after you do this, you need to update the management and of course, brief the employee. All right. So after brief the employee, you go back to the same process. If it happens, continue all this process. All right. So this is in a nutshell showing the process to be taken. So let's dive into the corrective action. Each indisciplinary action is unique and may require different intervention. Remember, I said minor, major, and then depends on the job role as well. Okay, so basically these are all the corrective actions that you may take against the employee. So here I won't have time to go individually. So let's just touch quickly what is all this, right? So first, if there's a minor misconduct, what I would recommend is instead of issuing warning, you see there's 2 here, verbal reminder, verbal warning. Meaning, verbal reminder means you just call the employee, okay, and then talk to them verbally. Remind them, okay, what have they done wrong, which clause in the employee handbook that they have violated, and then remind them that they should not do that again. And if they do that again, there will be more severe consequences or action taken. Okay, so first, this is what I do instead of straight going into warning. If they repeat the same, then you can issue verbal warning again. Again, this is verbal. So verbal means it's still recorded. What I do is I still record in a form, but then there's no issuing of letter to them, meaning there's no record to jeopardize other aspects of their career. Okay, because usually when you issue warning letter, it will affect their promotion, maybe their increment, and then their further career prospects. Okay, so when it comes to verbal, it should not affect. That's why it's called verbal, right? So this one you inform the employee also. Why are you issuing verbal? Because maybe this is their first offense, maybe they didn't understand, maybe it's too minor, right? So reminder followed by warning. Then next we come to reminder and warning, and these are issuing of letters. Again, reminder letter can be issued for minor misconduct, meaning again it's not recorded as a warning. It's just a reminder so that they don't do it again. Warning is more harsh, then it's recorded in their file to show that it will affect their further career prospects. Then we come to show cause. Show cause is, or in Malay we call it surat tunjuk sebab. Show cause letter is when a misconduct or violation is noted, is identified, but the management is not clear whether the employee is at fault or not. Okay, they identified some misconduct, something that has happened, but we're not sure whether it's the employee's fault. Then you should issue a show cause letter to the employee for them to write in and explain themselves. Where were they? What were they doing? Is it them? Example, stolen company property. Some company property is missing. Then you ask them, okay, where were you on that day? Okay, then they can reply. So there's two replies you can expect. One is they will say, yes, it's me, I'm guilty. So after they done that, then you issue warning letter because they have admitted, right? It could be warning. Another way it could be, they will say, they denied, they didn't do it, they are not guilty. So if they do that, then the next step will be domestic inquiry. So domestic inquiry is like a mini court case that you need to have in your organization, and a few people from the organization will be involved to question the employee. And then the employee also given a chance to explain themselves. Okay? So domestic inquiry is very important process to determine whether the employee is guilty or not. All right. So after that, then once you've determined in the domestic inquiry, then you go on to the others two here, I mentioned here, suspension and demotion. Okay, based on the severity again of the misconduct, and you've confirmed that they have done the misconduct, and then you have ample proof, then you can suspend them. Suspension is allowed under the Employment Act or Industrial Relations Act, is up to 2 weeks without pay. All right. Or the other option is demotion. Example, now they are maybe supervisor, you demote them to assistant level or officer level, lower level. All right. So these two can be done only after domestic inquiry. Of course, another action is termination. Okay, termination is here. Also should be done after domestic inquiry. Without domestic inquiry termination done, then the consequences could be severe. If the employee goes on to report the termination to the Industrial Relations Department, IR department, then the matter can be brought up to the court. Then the organization will be tied up in preparing for the case. Okay, hopefully they win. All right. Okay, so these are some of the corrective measures here, and some others on the right hand side. If you see, it could be corrective action, could be counseling as well. Counsel the employee. Maybe example, they were tardy, coming to work late. Okay, every time. Then you just counsel them, ask them what happened, how they can adjust their schedule, give some feedback. So that is called counseling. Another one is called PIP, Performance Improvement Plan. So this one, you can issue a letter as well as a corrective action to tell them, okay, I give you 1 month or 3 months to improve yourself. You need to do this, 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 this. And then at the end of the 3 months and in between, we will evaluate you, right? So this is for giving them a chance to improve. Next, what we can do is freezing of promotion, transfer, increment, bonus for a specified period of time. Yeah, remember just now I mentioned warning. If you have given warning to an employee, suspension, demotion, then you can do this as well. Or you can omit it. It's up to the company. and the severity of the misconduct. Okay, freezing means if they are slated for promotion, now you don't promote them. Maybe for the next year, 1 year you don't promote, then the following year you can evaluate. Same way, transfer, increment, and bonus. Okay, and lastly, report to authorities. Authorities usually will be the police. If they have stole company property and it's a major valuable item, then or stole company money or fraud like forged signature, all those misconduct, you can take action on your own, but some of them you need to report to the police as well. Okay, because some are criminal in nature, then you need to get the police involved, right? So in a nutshell, these are some of the corrective action that you can do for all the discipline and misconduct cases. So when you do that, of course, you need to have clear rules and regulations. Earlier I mentioned, I keep stressing on this, systematic disciplinary process. Okay, so earlier I mentioned reminder, verbal reminder, verbal warning. So that is going by system. Okay, appeal process. So usually after a domestic inquiry and then the employee is found to be guilty, there would be an appeal process where the employee can appeal to the management or the top person, CEO or MD of the company, to lighten their punishment. Okay, so in other misconduct cases, you can also have appeal process. If you don't do domestic inquiry, for others also you can have the appeal process, right? So it is giving a chance for the employee, like second chances, Sometimes, as I mentioned, they are not aware or they carelessly done something, all right? And then here I would like to bring your attention to this. Principles of natural justice must be applied. So this is always stressed when there are court cases as well. Natural justice is you must look at all the angles and then make sure that we are not severely punishing the employee, and then justice is served, right? In a nutshell. Okay. So corrective action, who is responsible? Usually people will look at HR, okay? For bigger organizations who have a HR department, the HR will be involved. And smaller organizations, maybe some department who took on the HR role, like the admin person, or sometimes it's also the finance or the secretary of the boss. It could be anyone. And then here I would recommend to involve the supervisor and manager as well. And of course, the employee has to be there, right? So whenever corrective action is done, involve all these parties. Because if HR deal alone with the employee, the supervisor, manager don't know what transpired, then they get back to work, HR won't be seeing them. Okay, the supervisor and manager is the one working with them day to day. So that is why they need to be in the loop and responsible during the corrective action process as well, right? That is my recommendation. So again, there are consequences of all the corrective action. There are consequences. Earlier consequences, we talked about indiscipline, what will happen. Now, after you take corrective action, there will be consequences. So it could be negative or positive. So negative, let's look at the negative. It could relate to grievance. Okay, so employee after being served maybe a warning letter, there will be grievance. They won't be happy. They may be gossiping and complaining, right? So they are not happy with the outcome. Next, it could be resignation. Some they will say, "This company is too harsh on me," or maybe they are embarrassed with the situation. They may resign. Next, lawsuits. This is what companies don't want. Okay, they may take legal action. They may go to the labor department if they are not terminated to complain about any issue, or if they are terminated, they may go to the IR department, Industrial Relations Department, to complain. Then the matter may be referred to the industrial courts. Okay. Next, the fourth one, creation of toxic work environment. Okay. How toxic? Because the person is not happy with what is the punishment given, and then they gossip. That's now I mentioned gossip, and then influence others. Then the whole environment may be toxic because they are demotivated as well. All right. So this is on the negative side. So let's look at the positive side. So positive side, it could be some employees, their behavior may be improved. Okay. After giving the warning, you say, oh, next time I shouldn't do this. Actually, I did a mistake. Now I'm going to improve myself. Okay. That is good. Next, increase productivity. So they may work harder now. They say, oh, my boss already marked me with a warning. So now I have to increase my productivity to get on his good side. Okay. Then overall, of course, it will improve the organization culture because the person is improved in their behavior and productivity. It will flow into other employees as well. All right. And then eventually it creates a good environment. Okay, so there's two sides of the coin. Of course, organizations and HR supervisors, managers, we would strive to have a positive outcome. Right? Okay, so that's on the corrective action we mentioned about all the misconduct. Okay, and sometimes some organizations will lump poor performance under misconduct as well. So is it really a poor performance? Is it a misconduct? Okay. So besides looking at, there's now I mentioned Employment Act. Okay. There's Industrial Relations Act as well, which gives guidelines on how to manage discipline and misconduct at the workplace. But besides that, we also need to look at some cases awarded by the industrial courts. Okay. So one such case is this. Okay, this is for your reference. This one case was awarded on the 20th of February 2020, just recently, about 3 years back. Okay, this employee sued Schneider Electric in the industrial court. Okay, what happened is, in a nutshell, the company issued him a performance improvement plan because they say he's a poor performer. And then at the end of the PIP, what they did is they terminated him. Right? So, of course, he took them to court, fight the case, and then you see here, he won the case. Okay, the court says lesser punishment should be given for poor performance instead of dismissal. Okay, although poor performance affects behavior, attitude, and productivity and all that, the court thinks that it's not a misconduct. It's simply that he's not up to the mark, up to the expectation. All right. So they feel that lesser punishment should be given, maybe suspension or, freezing of increment, freezing of bonus and all that. So now they have awarded him this much, 107,000 ringgit. Okay, 107, 150 and reinstated. So meaning this company has to re-employ him. They spend this much money to pay him, court award, they re-employ him, and then they spend money on the lawyer fees as well. And then the people who's going to court to and fro, all those is cost for the company. All right. So spend a lot of money on this type of issues. That's why I have this one for you. So next time, if you're giving out a PIP, remember this case, try not to dismiss them. As much as possible, don't dismiss. Because there is a case already that judge say lesser punishment should be given. All right. So as for other misconduct as well, there are a lot of cases. All right. Usually in my programs, I will share for each case, for each misconduct, there are similar cases that went to court and the employee won. So we learn from here. So if employee 1, next time the company should take different approach, right? Okay, so we completed with the corrective action. Now let's go into preventive action. What can the organization do? Preventive. So earlier in the slides also I mentioned briefly. So we can create an environment where disciplinary action need not be implemented. Okay, or it can be minimized. Okay, when you have few things in order, I've just highlighted few here. Orientation. Okay, get the employee come in, orientate them, explain to them, tell them what are the expectations, what are the do's and don'ts. Grievance procedure, have a procedure in place. If they are not happy, they are gossiping, they are talking bad about the company, you have a procedure for them. Okay, when you're not happy, this is what you should do. You should write into your supervisor. Then the supervisor will address to you. Supervisor didn't solve your problem, then you can go up to manager level, your department manager. Department manager cannot solve, then you escalate the matter to HR. HR cannot solve, then you escalate the matter to the top management, the CEO or MD. So usually that is the grievance procedure I have in the organizations that I worked, right? So it helps the employee to address one-to-one the issue instead of creating a toxic environment. Stay interviews. Stay interviews are for those people who have uh, sometimes grievance, sometimes they are good employees, but then you can have a interview session with them, like call them up maybe 6 months once or 3 months once. Usually HR, supervisor, manager can do that. Ask them, hey, how are you? How is it going? Are you happy? How can we help you more? What support do you need? Okay, and a few other things you can include. This is what we call stay interview, right? To keep them engaged, to help support them if they need any support. Okay, nobody asked them. Suddenly one day they come up with the letter and resign. And then you're wondering, hey, what happened? Because you never ask them what's the problem. Okay, so that's where stay interview comes in. Next, exit interview. Exit interview is after they have resigned. Then you find out, hey, why are you resigning? Okay, then you get all the information, then you can take some measures to correct them. Improve hiring process. Hire the right candidate, the right fit for the right role. Remember I mentioned earlier, right? Learning and development is like training programs. Sometimes it's very important to train an employee. For example, like poor performance, actually you need to train the employee. Sometimes training is not there or insufficient. So train the employee properly, then measure their competitiveness or competency through learning and development programs. Okay. Lastly, communicate expectations. They say, I expect you to be in the office. I used to tell my employees in the organization, if your work starts at 9, I expect you to be at your desk at least 8:50. Okay, because if you walk in at 9, you're just walking in, and then by the time you settle down, put your bags, you haven't started work. Okay, so my expectation, I say by 8:50 you must be at your desk, and then by 9 you can actually start work. Okay, so for every aspect of your job role, you can communicate the expectations this way. Then you also prevent some misconduct and disciplinary issues. All right. So again, who's responsible? The same people. The same people should be responsible in this prevention. Of course, the lead person, if there's a HR will take the lead. And then the rest of them give cooperation and then carry out these preventive actions. So we've come to the end part of our session. So let's summarize what we learned today. So managing discipline and misconduct should be ideally handled by the HR together with the immediate supervisor or manager in charge. Okay, so why? Because day to day, the employee is actually facing the manager and supervisor. So sometimes HR will say, oh, come to work on time, 9 o'clock, okay? They will say, okay, okay. But then when the supervisor manager is there, HR is not there, the employee may come to work 9:10. And then the supervisor manager don't know what HR told them. Then they also keep quiet. Okay, lo? Then what happens? The indiscipline misconduct continues. Okay, that is why I always say involve them. So when I used to issue letters or even verbal reminders, I always keep the supervisor and manager in the loop. So I will ask them to join in if they are able to join in, to have a talk with the employee, or maybe sometimes counseling session or PIP, involve them so they know, okay, what we are telling the employee, what they should do, and how they are going to supervise or manage them. All right. Or if they are not able to attend, what I do is keep them in the loop in the email or reports, or when we have a management meeting, highlight the matter to them. All right. So this is very important part. Next, principle of natural justice should be applied. So always be empathetic to the employee. That's why I have minor and major misconduct. So don't straight away warning, warning, everything warning, warning, too harsh to the employee. You don't really take their views into consideration. As I mentioned, sometimes your policy procedure is so difficult to understand. Okay, they don't even know what they are supposed to do. Sometimes it's too long-winded, your policy or rules and regulations, they don't know what to do. Okay, so that is why it's good to have orientation session. So besides orientation, I would also propose like a regular briefing session. So currently we have new amendments in Employment Act 1955 and also Occupational Safety and Health Act, all right, 1994. All these, there are new uh, rules and regulations incorporated into the Act. So all these, you need to make changes into your company policy, rules and regulations as well. So once you make changes, you need to call them up to have a briefing. You can issue the policy to them by email, or you say it's available in the website, you can view. But then, as I said, they may not understand. So call them, have a short briefing, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, explain to them, and then have a Q&A session. Then you know, okay, for sure you understand. This is what it is, you must follow. This is the company's expectation. All right, adequately inform them. Next, prevention is better than cure. So I always look for prevention. That's why I included in my webinar today, preventive and corrective action. So rather than always look at corrective action, which may create toxic environment, always go for preventive action first. So I have successfully in few organizations that I've worked, prevented a lot of misconduct and disciplinary action. That is why I can share with you. How? Wherever I'm the HR in any organization, none of the employees took the company to the court. Okay, I don't give them the chance. Everything I cover, there's no loophole. The most they went is complaint at labor department, and then the case was thrown out because I take care of the organization and take care of the employee. Okay, so I can really say that when I'm the HR, nobody dare to go to the court because they don't have anything to sue the company for. All right, but I have gone up and down courts. Industrial court in KL, industrial court in Johor, yes. Why? Because the previous person has not done a proper disciplinary process, and then the employee can sue them in court. But when I joined the company, I had to take over the case. All right, so that is why I have experience facing the judge in the judge's chamber and then going to courts, various courts, handling cases, going to IR department, going to labor department. I have all the experience, but it's not caused by me. Okay, so that's why I always emphasize on prevention because it's costly. If it goes to court, a lot of costs involved, cost for lawyer, cost of time, you need to spend a lot of time, and a lot of documents like this high, you need to prepare for the court. Okay, it takes up a lot of time. And lastly, before taking disciplinary action, think of the consequences first. So that's why I mentioned consequences. So that's why something I said is just a reminder. Okay, we don't want to be too harsh. Some things are verbal only. All right, sometimes you verbal tell them, okay, next time they already follow. So why you want to be so harsh? Okay, so these are just 4 pointers for you. And in summary, what I've shared with you today, right? So after you get all the information today, what next? What are you going to do? Look at this cycle. So think about this. What new knowledge will you take with you, right? How will you use your new knowledge? Of course, now you have gained new knowledge, you need to use it. You need to implement it. Otherwise, knowledge gained and not used is waste of time, right? And then think about what resources or support do you need. Okay, because as I said, today is a very short 1 hour session. You will need more resources and support. So you need to think about what others you need. Maybe you need to buy a book, attend more training programs, right? And then lastly, what are you leaving behind? Whatever you have done which is not aligned with the organization's mission, vision, and then which is creating a toxic environment or preventive measures are not there, then you need to leave some things behind. All right. So that concludes our session for today. And let's get on with the question and answer session. So if you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them till our session until 1 today.
Okay, guys. So if you have any question, you can ask now.
Okay, that's one question. How to handle employees with emotional issues? So emotional issues meaning you are saying their attitude. Maybe they are crying all the time or getting angry? What kind of emotional issues? It could be both, right? Okay, let me just address that. How to handle. So you need to have a counseling session. That would be my recommendation. Counsel them. Why are you getting so emotional? What do you actually want? And then tell them your expectations. So we don't want you, when you're in a meeting or when you're talking to someone, we don't want you to get emotional because that is not professional. We are working in an organization. You need to tell us what you actually want. Then we can see how we can work together and fulfill your needs. So best is counseling first, right? Hope that answers your question. Okay, there's another question. How to handle poor performance if we don't have appraisal and PIP, we only have KPI. Okay, KPI is good. Key performance indicator is good to measure the performance of the employee. So usually when you give a KPI, I would recommend don't evaluate them once a year. You can give a KPI, evaluate every 3 months so that you know that they are on track. If they are not on track, you can correct them rather than let them derail themselves, not on track until the end of the year. Then you say, oh, you are a poor performer. Okay, do it regularly, maybe 3 months once. Then they will know they can correct themselves before the end of the year, right? But it's good to have an appraisal system. When you give KPI, there should be appraisal at least once a year. But I would recommend twice a year. 6 months, then another one is the end of the year. Okay, another question. If top management do not want to follow the EA, even though the HR department already advised not to do. Okay, I have encountered this type of situations. Okay, sometimes the management, they don't want to follow what the rules and regulations, which is in the act itself. Okay, so what HR or any employee can do is just inform them, put it in record. Sometimes you verbally tell them, but now I would advise for you to keep put it in a record, like a email, black and white, or letter to them, notifying them. Okay, this is the changes in the EA, and what are the consequences? Tell them the consequences. Okay, consequence is employee can report you to the labor department. They can take you to the court, and these are the things that you're going to face and the amount that you need to pay. You may need to pay. Okay, so put it in black and white to safeguard yourself that you have informed. Because if the case comes up, then the boss say, "Hey, you didn't inform me." Then now you have black and white to show, "Hey, I have informed you." Right? That's the best you can do for now. Otherwise, the next thing is to leave the company. Okay. If my boss doesn't want to listen to me, I will be violating the law itself, and they keep repeating the same uh, things and don't want to follow EA, then I will just have to leave the company. All right, that is what I will do, but I leave it to you.
Okay, anyone? So is there any more question you can ask now? Miss Carol will answer it. So, all right, no question. Okay, all right. So that concludes our lunch and learn for this week. So we hope you found the information and insight shared today to be valuable. Thank you, Miss Carol, for sharing your knowledge with us. So for those who missed today's session, you can watch the replay on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. So, uh, if you guys are interested to know more about human resource topic, you can contact us for further discussion. And then, if you look at the screen right now, these are our upcoming trainings and courses for April. We have a digital marketing masterclass, and then we have Microsoft Excel intermediate and advanced level, data analytics, visualization in Excel, and graphic design. So for this digital marketing masterclass are now confirmed. Then digital marketing and Microsoft Excel class will be due on physical, and for Muslim we will serve you Ramadan buffet. So if you want to join our training, you can contact us. You can call us or email to us. And those for in the automotive industry who want to take your dealership to the next level and skyrocket your sales, we have a perfect online conference you might want to join. As you can see, we have our Thrive AI-powered social media and email marketing for automotive industry. It will be done on half day from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So as you can see, we have a early bird price. So if you want the early bird price, you may join us early before it back to the normal price. And then our amazing speaker, Mr. Alexander, will be share this expert insight and strategy on how you can use your artificial intelligence to boost your sales and marketing effort. Sorry. So if you have any question regarding those all of the courses, feel free to contact us via email or social media. We'll be happy to help. Also, don't forget to like our social media platform to stay updated on our courses. So thank you again, Miss Carol and everyone for joining us today. Have a great day and see you again next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.